All right, well, thanks guys for coming in. Appreciate you guys being here. I called Nate earlier and he said that he can't be here right now because he's working with a student. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send him the information that we talked about today in an email, and then I'll go and talk to him later today when I see him after this meeting.
Sounds good. All right.
Okay. So first, just to remind everybody that, we're going to be respectful and talk about everything that we need to talk about today and stay on topic and get the heck out of here, because I know everybody wants to get out of here and not waste any time that is so precious to us that I know.
Thank you.
First, I want to say that it was excellent that we got all of our teachers, 100% of our teachers turned in their RACER data for February and March, which is great because we're able to use all that data, and I gave it to you. And what did you guys come up with after you guys analyzed and took a look at the data?
Well, I noticed that our kids are getting better with restating the question prompt in their answer, but they still need some work in their citations. What did you notice?
I think citations and explanations are absolutely their weakness. They can tag an author, they can restate, and they can come up with pretty solid answers.
Mm-hmm.
It's that evidence and that analytical part that I think we still need to kind of support and kind of scaffold in some stuff.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. I really like, I'm seeing a trend here of growing scores too, so that's excellent as well, since we've used this new rubric. And I think that that's a really good thing. So we've got one more PD session to go, and if you guys are saying that citation is a big deal, then I think obviously we need to work on that. So we've got like an hour block of time that we get to use next PD. So what do you guys think we should do for that? We need to create something for the teachers to help them with citation. Do we need to give examples? Do we need to work in a specific way? What do you guys think?
I definitely think we could give some of the non-ELA teachers some tips on how to teach their kids to citate in a RACER response. Also, I think if we're all using the same language and the same verbiage when we're showing kids how to pick a strong citation and support that citation and make it all make sense in their answer, that would be helpful to our students.
I completely agree, and I think that ELA should probably take the lead on this in terms of this is something that is in their wheelhouse, and they probably have strategies. And not only that, they can talk about what does a citation, what do we want to emphasize at 6th grade? What do we want to emphasize at 7th grade? What do we need to emphasize once they're at 8th grade? And kind of those appropriate developmental stages of citations. To attack it all at once might be a little overwhelming.
So then do you guys think we should have the 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade ELA teachers work with 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade? Or should we, what do you guys think?
I think it almost starts vertical and then goes horizontal, like to a certain degree. I think it'd be helpful if people could work in vertical teams so that they know kind of what they're building off of from the years before, but then we almost have to go horizontal so that ELA can then share that with the other disciplines.
I agree. I think we need to develop a progression of skills building up on each grade level, like you said. And maybe have some exemplar responses for what does it look like to have an exemplar 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade text. And once our ELA team develops that, then they can share it out with the horizontal teams.
Okay, I think that sounds like a really good plan. How much time do you think this is going to take? What do you guys think?
I think that's my concern with 1 hour of PD. I mean, how much heads up will the ELA team, what comes first? Do we talk horizontally first? Do we talk vertically first? And how much time do they need to prep? Are we really going to be able to accomplish all of this in an hour?
Okay.
You bring up a good point. I think maybe the ELA team should have some extra time before that PD day to get together and plan.
Okay.
Probably be
So then, so I think that's a really good idea. I think that why don't, since you are part of the ELA department, why don't you send out an email to the other 2 teachers and maybe come up with a good time to come up with some strategies for what we can do, what the ELA department can do to facilitate the PD. And then once you guys determine a meeting time, let me know, and then, or include me in that, and then I'll meet with you guys as well, and we can all get back together before the PD session, and then we can determine how to move from there.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
Do you guys have anything else you want to add?
What about disciplines that don't use necessarily.
Kelly, thank you so much for meeting with me today to talk about our reflection over this entire process and over our meetings and over our plan and over everything that we were able to accomplish. So
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm happy to be a part of it.
yeah.
How did you think our data team went?
I think our data team went really well. I think that our team members really understood the importance of what we were trying to accomplish. We wanted to start with a focus on student writing. We knew that we had our old RACER system and that it was working pretty well, but the fact was that, I think everyone in our team agreed that it needed a change and that it needed to be much more student friendly and that we needed to focus on developing a rubric that would really help the students understand what their expectations were and understand how to be more successful as a writer. And I think it really helped that we were all focused on creating new meaningful prompts that use this RACER, and that we were all kind of in it together to work to help every other teacher implement this new RACER rubric in their classroom in order to ultimately increase student writing performance and help our students grow as writers. So I think it went really well. I mean, I think that of all the expectations, we hit them, and I think student proficiency level shows it. I mean, we grew significantly. So
I agree. We took something good and we made it great. I agree. So how do you feel about the PD plan that we made?
I think our PD plan was really good. Had a really good solid base. I think that when teachers wanted the PD and they wanted the help, and when we figured out what they wanted, we were able to provide that to them, and which was a lot of work time and a lot of time to collaborate with each other to kind of figure out the wording of the rubric and figure out exactly what what's the word I'm looking for? Where everyone understands how the grading system works.
Calibration.
Calibration, yes. So everyone wanted to calibrate everything, make sure that the grading was all appropriate, and they wanted to work together to focus on coming up with prompts that worked in their classroom. And I think we were able to provide that for them, and I think that because of the fact that we were able to provide them with that, they received it really positively, and I think it helped them a lot as far as putting it in their classroom.
I agree, Adam. I think one of the reasons why your professional development plan is so valuable is because you really listened to the teachers and what they wanted from the professional development, because we had our ideas on how to make writing better, but really listening to their feedback, I think, made it a really good plan. Speaking of teacher feedback, what did the teacher survey say?
The teacher surveys were really positive. I think that they all, especially the one from January, we were able to determine, because that was the original time that we taught the teachers about the new rubric. We introduced it to them, we gave it to them, we said, hey, let's take a look at the wording, let's figure this all out. And we worked together and we figured that out. And then afterwards, their feedback was really supportive of the rubric. They said that it was really beneficial to student writing. They all agreed that it was much easier to read and that the students would probably have a better time understanding it. And I think the biggest thing that we learned was that the teachers wanted more work time together.
Absolutely.
To just collaborate and to just work during professional development time to create these RACER prompts that they could use in the classroom, and that having time to actually plan a lesson that they could use was really beneficial, because it was much more practical than us spending every other PD going over one of the aspects of RACER with
Right.
them. I think
Right.
that everyone understood kind of the basics, and that any questions that came up we were able to answer during the PD. And I think that the feedback from the teachers really shows that really all they wanted was work time, and we were able to provide that for them. And I think that because we were able to provide them with that work time, that this PD was such a success. And I think that those feedback surveys were really, really important. Also, I think that having everyone fill out the feedback survey, not just the teachers that we were facilitating, but us as well as a team, so we could figure out exactly what we thought went well, and we could reflect on our own performance in the PD. And even Nate even wrote down that having more work time was just beneficial, and just
Absolutely.
even as he was walking around and helping everyone, you know, he was able to see different ideas and work together, and work with the science department and work with the 7th grade team, and just come up with new Racer prompts that would just be really, really helpful for all of them in their classrooms.
Yeah, I 100% agree. The practicality of actually writing a Racer prompt that met the requirements of the new rubric for teachers to use the next day in their classroom was huge.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
mean, teachers are very practical people with so many expectations on their time and so many things to do all the time. So yeah, I agree with you. I think that was a huge reason why our PD was so successful.
Yeah, and I think just the practicality of it was really just exactly what they needed. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So what would you do differently,
You know,
if anything?
I think just one of the biggest factors was that we only had like an hour slot each professional development day, and that was,
Yeah.
you know, that was good and bad, because it was an hour that we told the teachers, you know, here's an hour where we're going to work. You're going to work half an hour in vertical teams, half an hour in horizontal teams. You're going to get together. 7th grade and science department are going to work together at certain points, and I think that was great. But I think just the biggest thing that we needed was just if we could have gotten maybe even a half hour more,
Yeah.
or maybe if you want to extend it to a 2-hour session. I mean, I think that would have been a really big deal. I think just time to work was what they wanted, and with how much focus they had throughout the entire time, every teacher was going with it, and was coming up with really good ideas for their prompts and for what they could use in the classroom. And I think that just providing them more time is what they wanted, it's what we wanted, and I think just the fact that we had to crunch it all into an hour was probably our biggest challenge. You know, I think if we would have done it differently too, another thing I would love, now that we have so many more examples that use this new rubric, I mean, so many more teachers have come up with some really good ones this semester. I would love to have those examples from the get-go, and I think that would provide the science department and the math department and the social studies department with just some ideas that would be really, really helpful and really beneficial for them to work, and to help them come up with ideas.
Right, a basis to work from.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, I also think that you could have planned a good professional development on your own, but I think that it was really cool that you brought a team of teachers together, a core team, even though Nate couldn't make it, but a core team of people to plan
Oh my gosh,
and to
yeah.
survey the teachers before you implemented your professional development.
Absolutely, and I think that our team was great. Yeah, absolutely, I think our team was a really, really professional team with a lot of experience with curriculum development and with just writing development and just coming up with good writing systems. I mean, you know, Jenny is so talented when it comes to coming up with things that just work for the students. And you know, and you as well, with just your background of you know, curriculum development and implementation, it's just so helpful. And Nate, who, I mean, teacher of the year, you know,
Right.
classroom management genius, classroom, you know,
Oh, yeah, they're both
I mean,
excellent
they're just
teachers.
so, you know, I don't necessarily know if it would have been as successful if this would have been just me. I think that a lot of it, there's no way. They did so much work, and they, you know, especially with you and Jenny analyzing all the data, figuring out exactly where our weakest areas were with as the students took the Racer, figuring out what their areas of improvement were that they needed to work on. You know, I think that all of the hard work that all of you guys put in was just so beneficial, and I think that if we would have done this differently, you know, including a couple other ELA teachers would have been beneficial, I think. I think that having Nate, who's not an ELA teacher, come up with ideas for other teachers was really helpful. You know, take this ELA concept and move it into a non-ELA classroom. And I think that it just, having him there was really beneficial, but maybe having even a math teacher or
Sure.
having our math instructional coordinator come in and help too would have been really beneficial. But you know, the hard thing is just finding time for everyone
Yeah.
to meet. I mean, as you know, as you knew that, I mean, every meeting that we've had, I mean, somebody's been gone.
Right,
Somebody's
right.
got something, you've got to go home. Somebody's got to coach. Somebody has
Sure.
somebody has another meeting that they're at. Somebody's got, you know, after school detention duty. I mean, it's all one thing or the other. So
Right.
Um,
But, you know, we made it work, and time is always gonna be an obstacle.